Brought to you by...
Up on the housetop, reindeer fall, breaking their bones, screaming as they crawl. Down through the chimney comes Santa Claus, seeking revenge and righting all wrongs, brandishing shears to snip, 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 and filling his big bag of dicks. Hello friends, welcome back to Christmas on ETF, where a deranged Santa Slayer is leaving behind a grisly trail of mutilated bodies, all through the house. This film wastes absolutely no time in dropping us into the situation as we watch our titular antagonist steal himself a Santa suit from a rather unique looking lawn display, snatches up some discarded hedge clippers, and snake charms a young boy into letting him into the house of a sexed up couple who are dying to meet their end. These opening moments are very reminiscent of Black Christmas in many ways, placing us alongside our killer as he descends upon an unsuspecting home. However, in this case, it only takes a few minutes before the badly written dialogue shines through, making us regret all of our life choices. Right from the rip, the gore and practical effects are pretty good for a low-budget horror flick of this nature. However, the editing leaves little to be desired. This is first and foremost a film captured in an extremely amateur quality, with bad, overly obvious lighting. Much of it is drastically overlit in one way or another, and portions feature some horrendously bad ADR. Many of the film's kills are bloody and violent, but I assume for lack of budget, they are often cut to avoid showing the impact of the stabbing, cutting from attack to aftermath instantly every single time. The lackluster cinematography here doesn't help matters. It uses basic and poorly executed angles and moves to create a pretty unappealing visual experience that does nothing to really enhance the horror of the moment. Also, on a personal note, why is it that over the course of an hour, I found myself watching a movie where Santa is running around with hedge clippers, and yet no one ever gets decapitated? I went into this one completely blind, knowing very little about the film itself. So when I threw it on, I was very surprised to find that this was a film directed by Todd Nunes, the very same Todd Nunes who created the short Here Comes Santa that I reviewed earlier this week. The more I watched it, the more it became clear that this was his attempt to turn that original short into a full-fledged feature film experience. He definitely is making an attempt here to develop the original characters further in this rendition, providing them with some much-needed backstory. The film utilizes the same basic premise of the short and expands heavily upon it in every aspect. He develops the characters further and adds characters to the plot who end up being more lambs to the slaughter. It does break up its main plotline by cutting over to completely unrelated characters, mostly these sluts in skimpy outfits looking to get stuck good and hard, quickly setting them up and getting them killed off almost immediately. These characters literally have no other purpose in this film than to pad out the runtime and work in some more kill scenes. Nunes also chooses to include flashbacks that are meant to give us an insight into the past of a young girl named Jammy, which set me up to quickly guess the reveal that this film borrows a plot element from Insidious Chapter 2. As it turns out, Jamie is actually a little boy, repressed by his overbearing and insane mother, and has now come home to punish everyone he finds as our killer Santa. The performances throughout this film are so overly cheesy to say the least. None of the actors felt like they were even trying to make much of an effort. This was possibly due to the fact that they weren't being paid very much for their time. The Santa Claus costume here is much better than the one in the original short, featuring this dingy black-faced mask that adds a little more ominous flair and originality to the character for sure. None of the actresses know how to die on camera convincingly at all. Each of them gives some of the most cringe-inducing performances as they are picked off, with screams that couldn't convince anyone that they are being violently murdered. The same actress from the original short basically just reprises her role here. However, her poor acting is far more detrimental over a longer period of time. There were definitely attempts here to work in homages to various films that had influence on this one. We are placed into POV segments like in Black Christmas and Halloween, and the killer rams blades through beds like in Alone in the Dark. This film definitely doesn't shy away from black comedy moments either, as we watch our killer Santa hack up a couple of lesbians before stealing their vibrator and throwing our main character's grandmother off a cliff in her wheelchair and killing her cat. With a title like All Through the House, I kind of wish that this one had just taken place in a single location, rather than having our characters gallivanting across an entire neighborhood. Personally, what I think would have helped this film greatly would have been to maintain that old handycam style of the original short. I think that playing up the direct-to-video look and feeling would have planted the audience into the headspace of that 90s video store trash style right from the opening moments. And it honestly would have helped me enjoy the film a lot more. Instead, Nunes tries to create something more modern out of this bland and overdone 90s style plot. He pushes it into a more twisted Black Christmas remake level. The whole Twisted Mother angle forces our Santa killer from being an imposing presence to a more deranged Leatherface style villain, which does work well in some places, but can't just be shoehorned in the way it feels here. I'm giving All Through the House a D-. Overall, the unfortunate truth is that this film is literally what our killer Santa carries around in his sack. A collection of floppy, severed dicks. No. I'm not kidding. There is a sack full of severed dicks. There is a sack full of severed dicks in this film. If you are on a mission to devour every Santa slasher on the market, go ahead and check this one out. But be prepared for what you're getting yourself into. Otherwise, I would probably just avoid it. Hey friends, thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you want to show your support for what we do here, please consider supporting ETF on Patreon. For as little as $1 a month, you can help this channel grow in exchange for some fun little rewards. But that's all for now. If you haven't already, don't forget to subscribe, and I will catch you all next time. Thanks for watching.